afternoon now, right, Jeff?
It is now 12:06 this time.
Good afternoon. Yesterday was a historic day. The Mexican government successfully ratified the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, as we know as USMCA. They have become the first country in North America to take that step. Our trade agreement with our neighbors to our north and our south, to me, is one of the most important things we can do in this Congress right now, especially as the President is preparing to have negotiations with China. It only makes us stronger for North America to be united in our endeavor, and it only makes America stronger in this agreement, makes our economy with more jobs and more productive. Later today, we will meet with the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It'll be a bipartisan, bicameral meeting, or bipartisan just meeting on this side. I look forward as they're moving forward as well, and I'd look forward to see when our Congress could move forward, because if it was on the floor today, it would pass, and it would bring more jobs to America, and our economy would be stronger. Let me stop there, open it up for questions, comments. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McCarthy, the legislative branch spending bill that comes to the floor next week does include the cost of living increase. Leader McConnell said this morning that he does not support that. What are your thoughts on this? Will you support this when it comes to the floor?
Well, my position on this is the same. I do not believe Congress should only be a place for millionaires. Seeing what Leader McConnell has said in his opposition, it does complicate the path for this to becoming law. I don't want to prejudge the outcome here or the House, but it could put in doubt that that would become law.
McCarthy.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good afternoon. On these budget talks here, though,
Yes.
it seems as though, and I posed this question to you, that Senator Shelby had one assessment, you had another assessment. Do you see, though, that the White House, with where they have been on previous spending negotiations, that the President is fully dialed in on this, and that whatever is negotiated here will be echoed down when it comes to the President's desk?
Yeah, very much so. I've watched those who've been negotiating for the President, Secretary Mnuchin, Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. They have done a very good job, very professional. They're the ones in the room that are actually finding compromise or offering compromise. The difficulty here, and I understand what Senator Shelby said, but I've been in every meeting. I know he had entered this meeting newly in the process. The Democrats are requesting almost $400 billion increase over 2 years. I've watched this administration try to find common ground, but every time we have a meeting, I've listened to Speaker Pelosi actually increased for more spending. And that is not what's going to happen in the end. The President has been trying to find a solution between the House, the Senate, and something that could become law. Right now, we're spending and wasting a lot of precious time on this floor on appropriation bills that are never going to become law. It would be important that if we could put together an agreement when it comes to the caps where the Senate and the House could mark up and a bill could become a law, and it'd have the support of all, and the members would then write to those numbers.
Don't you view that, though, as the House laying down its marker, passing these? I mean, we've seen that before, and that you go into it.
Well, it's very clear those are never going to become law. I believe that the majority in the House has made a mistake. The first role would be to get an agreement on the cap number. They are writing to something that no one has agreed to outside of themselves. So it is wasting the precious time of the floor on something that will not become law. Wouldn't it be better to spend that time? And I want to give our Secretary Mnuchin a lot of credit. In the very first meeting when he walked in with the Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, it wasn't just some formal meeting that, okay, let's sit down and have talks. He says, I'm willing to make an agreement today, something I have not seen before. And he stayed and cleared his schedule. I think we spent more than 5 hours that day. He wanted to get to an agreement. Unfortunately, the others in the room do not. They want to continue the increase in spending, and that's not a place that we can go. Yes?
Mr. McCarthy, you just left a secure briefing on Iran. What can you tell us at this point, and what is your reaction to the downing of a U.S. drone? Do you think any retaliatory measures should be taken at this point?
Well, the first answer to your question, I did just leave a briefing, and there's nothing I can tell you from that briefing, or would I tell you from that briefing. What I see out publicly, it is unacceptable of shooting down an American UAV in international waters. It's unacceptable for any country to do that. And Iran knows that is unacceptable. What we have watched publicly go on, and Iran bombing ship tankers, the UAVs were able to capture that for the world to see. We've now heard of other shots being fired into Saudi Arabia. There's some reports I saw today publicly. We've watched other activities. Iran has a long history of a terrorist play, and that is unacceptable for the world, and the world is not safe when Iran continues to have that behavior, and it's unacceptable to shoot down an American plane in international waters by anybody.
What's the appropriate response? So what should the U.S. do about it?
I think the president will have options before him, like any other situation, and that's why we have individuals in that situation, and they will measure the options, and they'll make a decision.
Do you think that your conference would support an AUMF if the president goes that route?
A new AUMF he has the authority currently. He has 2 AUMFs sitting out there right now. I know the Democrats are trying, if I recall correctly, is it in the appropriates bill or in the NDAA, trying to remove? And I think in the appropriates bill, I believe Congresswoman from California put something in trying to deny the president the action to take any action or defend America against Iran, which I think would be a wrong option. And this is another reason why we voted against the appropriates bills on the floor. Yes.
Mnuchin has offered a one-year CR as a solution. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes. It is not the place that we would like to get to. Continuing resolutions are not helpful to the military. They're not helpful to this country. What you really want to see is appropriation process work. And the number one way appropriation process can work is that you start with the fundamentals. Structure will dictate behavior. If everybody agrees on a number, then you go and work on appropriations. That's what we're trying to get to, the very first basics. Unfortunately, the Democrat majority decided to move ahead and mark up bills before they had an agreement with everybody else. So that has put us in a very difficult situation that could take us to a point that we end up with a continuing resolution that is not the way to govern our government. And so we don't want to see that, but we don't want to see government shut down either.
Mr. McCarthy, on Iran, do you think that, or explain why withdrawing from the nuclear accord with Iran would not lead us into the place we are now with potential tension? Is there any reason to think that withdrawal didn't help facilitate this tinderbox we're dealing with?
Well, first take your question. You raised the question about removing ourselves from an agreement. When we created that agreement and Iran was delivered billions of dollars, did they spend that on their economy to make Iran stronger? Or did they fund Houthis to go in and create a battle along Yemen with Saudi Arabia? Are they in Syria creating damage and concern to Israel? So if the question is by removing created this, the answer is no, because Iran was already funding terrorism around the world, and maybe with the agreement they had more money to fund it and create others, from Hezbollah. So I have a real concern about Iran, always have had. And I think the world is less safe when Iran's able to play the way they have with the terrorists around the world.
But you don't think that changed their political calculation, regardless if they were funding some of these groups with the money?
They were already funding groups. They were already sending in people into battle around the world, the terrorist actions, prior when they were in the agreement. Thank you very much. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna follow-
All right, last question.
I was going to follow up. Do you think that some sort of military retaliation by the U.S. would be justified at this point?
Look, I will leave that to the experts of the military and to those in the intel community and to the administration to make that decision. Let's capture all the information ahead of time, but it seems to me from what's reported publicly, you had a American drone flying in international waters and you had aggressiveness from Iran shooting at an American plane and shooting it down and actually claiming to have done it as well.
Thank you. Thank you.